Yo, yo, what it do? This is welcome to CypherBeastT.V. This is the host with the most, Tony 47. Today we got a really special guest all the way from Stout Lemon's crew. We got B-Boy Mine. Yo, what's good?
Yo, what's
Ah,
up, Tony?
what's good? Man, my first
Yeah,
time
thank you
meeting
for
you.
having me, brother. It's my honor, and I appreciate being on your platform.
Dope. Thank you. Yeah, such an honor. I met you first over at the
Oh,
Roasted
well, they
Jam,
ain't stopping.
meeting you in person. And tell me, I guess for the viewers that may not know you, you've been around for 30 plus years into the game, and so for the people that don't know Remine, you've been breaking for a long time. What do you think has changed most about you as a break-in part of is the old Remine still there?
Um, well, growth, a lot of growth, right? Um, and a lot of self-discovery through the dance and through the culture and the elements also, not just breaking. I know everything is based on breaking on a lot of things, but this is a culture, and a culture has, a certain elements to be a culture. And so living this culture, the MC and the B-boy and the DJing and the graph, the glyphs, the murals, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, the understanding, is a constant study and, you know, in a way, a global university. So I've
Mm,
been living in this university, you know what I mean? And so yeah, a lot has changed about me. I've grown tremendously. I'm going to be 49 this month, and I've been doing this dance since I was 6 years old. You know what I mean? I've been doing this
oh
culture
wow.
since I was raised in this culture, not just this dance. I've been, of course, and even longer than that because I started popping before I was breaking. You know what I mean? I was one of these little kids that you see nowadays. You see these 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds flying. You know what I mean? And back then, they think, oh, just because
Yeah.
you started when you're a little kid, you don't know what's going on. But this is like some of the first things I seen. Just experiencing life. So I was very conscious and very coherent on what this was. That's why I never let it go, you know? And I stuck with it because I saw it something as valuable and incredible. And honestly, to me, I was into like superheroes and comic books and cartoons and Voltron and all the things, Thundercats and, these things being raised on. And, B-Boying reminded me or, seemed the closest to kind of like a superhero. You know what I mean? An actual
Yeah.
superhero. So, it's very deep to me. So, and now I'm a grown man, with children, family, and career life. So, it's helped me grow tremendously. So it's a vast topic that I can build on, right? And I'm
Yeah.
just here to share the experience with anyone willing to listen, that's willing to take in the experience and use it as a form of bettering themselves, and also a part of the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that also is involved with breaking hip hop, and elements. So
Mm, yeah, that's fire, man. So much knowledge and experience that you've been through that we, such as I and other platforms, would like to hear more about your story. And so, thank you for being on once again.
bless.
So people see battles, the moves, the music, but the people don't see, not behind the scenes. Part of
Yeah.
behind the scenes of your journey. And so, what are your thoughts of like from being about it from behind the battles?
Well, it's to me, battles are like a street fight. You know, it's a fight. And now they're getting to where they're on the stage now. And now it's, like sanctioned fights. You know what I mean? Like how they have in boxing or in MMA. So to me, it's always been a test for me to stay ready at any moment, at any time,
Mm.
just like a fighter. Because me, I look at this not as just break dancing or whatever. I look at this as a form of higher martial arts. I look at it as in the form of what Bruce Lee was talking about when he was talking about the art of fighting without fighting. Like
Mm.
he even demonstrate that with his life. Not only did he demonstrate it with his actual combat, but he demonstrated it with his movies. Like he made movies about fighting. You know what I mean? The art of
Mhm.
fighting without fighting. And so, you know, my whole philosophy was based around like, a lot of martial arts philosophies from growing up on kung fu movies and someone like Bruce Lee where I always knew that it could happen at any time. You know what I mean? Like anything could go down at any time. So you got to be prepared. You got to be ready. And same thing, I took it with breaking. Like anyone could try and battle me at any time at the mall or I'm at the gas station or in Safeway. You know what I mean? Someone would challenge me and I have to be ready. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, I know that's not a lot of people don't take it that serious, but, true B-boys like us, like we're fanatics about this. You know what I mean? We're obsessed with hacking the human limitations, and not only physically, but also mentally and spiritually. So, always staying ready, always ready for a challenge and to meet that challenge with grace and conquer that challenge. You know what I mean? Which the real challenge is the battle with the self, right?
Mm.
You have to
Yeah.
conquer yourself before you even enter that arena. So, I was always aware of that. And so that's how I take it, and the behind me of my thoughts and my awareness. So yeah, I've always through this whole time, that's the philosophy I carried is to always be ready for anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned a lot of self conquer. That
Yes.
could be very broad in a sense of within yourself. So like,
Word.
sense of, do you beat yourself up from losing, or do you train harder and get better? And then how do you adapt the atmosphere of like the nervousness, and I think that comes a lot with the self courage within you. And so how do you adapt and embrace that, you know
Yeah.
as in a competition wise, right? You get really hyped, and then you get nervous at the same time.
Well,
What
that's what I talk about, is the battle before the battle and the battle with self. Because believe me, even when we were kids, before you step out in that circle, you're battling all these thoughts, right?
Yeah.
What if I fall on my face? What if I hit my head and everyone laughs at me? What if I mess up on that move and everyone starts bagging on me? Like these are the thoughts that come into any human being, insecurities and or what if he beats me and everyone laughs at me and you know what I mean? And then my girlfriend's
Yeah.
watching and you know what I mean? And I'm so embarrassed. So all of these thoughts, we're all human and definitely I received those thoughts too, where it was like, they would come into my head, but that was, I understood the first battle was to battle those thoughts and to defeat them thoughts. Do you know what I mean? Then and how I would defeat them thoughts is I would use a Filipino philosophy that I had learned, growing up. It's called Bahala Na,
Hmm.
and it means come what may. And then some could take as also, I don't give a F. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's the philosophy I would put into my mind. Like I don't, I would snap myself into that. Like I don't give a F. I don't
Hmm.
care. Come what may, what, who, when, what, big, tall, small, fat, skinny. You know what I mean? Then I would start already talking to myself like that. Like, you know what I mean? And being willing to throw myself in a forge, because I
Mm.
knew that I was going to come out of that situation with more experience and more knowledge. So, yeah, that's the first battle that a lot of b-boys have to conquer. B-boys and b-girls, especially in front of
Yeah.
a crowd. You could get laughed at, you could be ridiculed. People are judging. People are judgmental. Everyone is judgmental. Even when you're good, they're still judging you, right? Some people think you're
Yeah.
good. Some people think you're whack. So, you have to leave that all. That's the first battle that you step into is the cipher in your mind, and you have to defeat those thoughts before you even step in that circle. So, you know, being aware of that and through the Bahala Na mentality and spirit of the Philippines, which I was raised with by my dad and my family. So I was like, Bahala Na.
Ooh, yeah, love it, love it. And when did you first kind of felt that in your life?
Oh, in a street fight, you know,
Mm,
in the street fight, fighting in the streets. Somebody pick on you, push him back. You know what I mean? And it was like,
yeah.
what? And a big old dude pushing me. I was like, oh, okay, what? You know what I mean? So that first Bahala Na stepped out in me is in my first street fights, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mentioned like how old were you when you kind of felt that when within the street fight?
Shoot, I was
Your
in my
age?
first street fights around 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just
Oh,
being a little school, being in elementary school, having to be with other kids bagging on you. And then you bagging on them, and then all of a sudden they say something about your mama, and then you say something about their mama, and they can't take it.
uh,
And then all of a sudden you guys are really fighting, you know? And I
yeah.
was the type of person who never backed down, from a challenge. Like I said, a fight, it didn't matter how big, what, it didn't matter. I never backed down when I was a kid. And I grew up in Stockton, California, in downtown Gleason Park. And it's a really rough neighborhood. It's Skid Row. So,
Mm,
I was raised in a very tough environment. So if you back down over here, you get beat up or you get picked on one day and someone sees they could pick on you, you're getting picked on every day. So,
mm,
and I was the smallest one, you know what I mean? The tiniest one. So, I seemed like an easy target, right?
yeah.
So when they would come at me, I would show them that wasn't the case.
Damn, that's good. And it's through the struggles, the fights, and that kind of helped build
Yeah.
your mentality to stay tough, believe in yourself,
Well,
and it.
yeah, that and when it comes to I've been into so many street fights, young and through my teens and up to my 20s, been through a lot of street fights and a lot of just straight fights, fist fights, knuckles, you know, and I've been jumped many times. You know what I mean? Like I've been jumped
Mm,
3 or 4 times, like by multiple people where you're talking about 10 people, 15 people jumping you. You know what I mean? So that mentality of us dancing, I was like, no matter what, this is a dang dance. We're
yeah.
dancing here. We're not fighting. You know what I mean? So I was used to actual combat, like really fighting. And, sometimes there was bats, sometimes there was locks, sometimes there was chains, sometimes there was
Mm,
knives, you know what I mean? So then sometimes there was guns. So it was like when I started battling and dancing, it brought me so much confidence because I was like, at least I'm not fighting. At least there's no
yeah.
kicks and punches and you're not having to duck and run and get chased by all these people. And so, that carried over to be like, man, this is dancing. I'm not scared of nobody. I don't care if you're
Mm,
Ken Swift. I don't care who you are. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is dancing.
yeah.
Like, you could be Easy Rock, you could be Wiggles, you could be, all the top names. You could be Crazy Legs. It didn't matter when I stepped into that cipher. I was not scared to battle anyone. Do you know what I mean? In a sense of
Wow.
like, you know, of course you're a little movie shocked because they're superstars, right? Like when I did battle
Hmm.
them, I was like, oh wow, like whoa, I'm really battling the guys that I watch on the movies all the time, and watched at the movie theater with my cousins when I was young, and then on VHS, and then rewinding it and forwarding it. So when I did get to battle them, I was shocked and surprised, but never scared. Because I've been in
Yeah.
real rumbles. I've been where my life was on the line, and if I curled up, I would have been dead. You know what I mean? And there's sometimes where if I didn't duck, I would have been dead, you know? And there were sometimes if I didn't run, I would have been dead. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
dancing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and things in perspective in my mind is growing up in combat, dancing was nothing. It was just like, oh shoot, you know, at least we're dancing. Like I said, the worst thing
Yeah.
you're gonna do is like get laughed at, fall, get ridiculed, get judged. You know what I mean? Like I said, that first battle of getting rid of that insecurity. But I was just never afraid of battling because it wasn't dangerous,
Mm, yeah,
you
okay.
know?
And that helps you self express as well. Hitting those ciphers, the
Yeah.
music and the dance.
Oh, for sure. And being, just being on a neutral and a willing to respond. Like a beat would play and then, you start moving different and then this beat will play and then you start moving different. So being in kind of a neutral to come what may, whatever is here, I'm going to deal with at the moment, a spontaneous combustion, you know.
Mm, yeah, dope. Uh, in the competition phases, has there ever been one that really stand out to you that you've been to or even competed into?
Um, I could say I did so many, brother. You know what I mean?
Right.
Really did. I did so many, um, and all of them had their own little unique thing to it. Even the underground ones that aren't recorded. That never were
Mm,
recorded. There's tons of those. I mean, there's more of those than there's more that has been recorded. You know,
yeah.
when it comes to experience on my battle skills and everything. But one time I got to battle my sensei, you know what I mean?
Who's
Here in
that?
Stockton. And it's a guy named Walter Johnson from a crew called Head Rush. And I was just a kid. I was only like maybe 14, 15, and he was already in his like 21, 20s, in his mid 20s. And
Ah,
he had been breaking since the 80s and popping and locking since the 80s and then house dancing. He went with the transy new jack swing. That's why I call him sensei because I emulate a lot of my styles off of him and, from the 80s. And one time, he stepped to me in this small hall party and because I was biting his moves.
uh-huh.
And back then, that was a no, and I was doing his moves when he wasn't around because I loved his style. His style was very effective. The way he
Yeah.
snapped into his moves, the way he set you up and he got you to relax before he snapped something. And so I liked how he did that. So I would emulate a lot of his styles. But one day he got mad at me and he stepped to me, you know and I went a good
Uh-huh.
4 rounds with him, in front of my hometown, like all the hip hop heads, right? And he was the hero of the town, like one of the best. There was like about four major b-boys at that time from our town that were like, they were all kings. They were the parts of the crowns that stick up. You know what I mean? And there was like four
Yeah.
points, and those we had like four kings here, and he was one of them. So for me, to hang with him, to at least just hang with him. You know what I mean? Didn't beat him. Didn't just hung with him for 4 rounds as a little kid. Yeah, everywhere. That's where my respect started coming. You know what I mean? Like everybody was like, "Oh shoot, man, Riston got heart." Like, damn, he battled the king. Like, you know. So yeah, that's one I could always remember off top because that was a major accomplishment. You know.
That's awesome. Out in Stockton, Walter Johnson. You were 14
Yes.
during that time,
Yeah.
you said?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Was
Tons of
there
experience.
Yeah, that one really clicks to you. Is there anything else out there that's clicked to you? I know you done.
Um, I mean, battling Rocksteady, battling
Oh,
Ken Swift, battling Floormaster, battling Easy Rock, battling the greats, the people who we looked up to, and getting a chance to demonstrate in front of them the love of the dance, the love for the culture, and showing that, like, yeah, we love this too over here on the West Coast. And then also banging a West Coast style. You know what I mean? Because
mm-hmm.
everyone was breaking like them. And either them are New York City breakers or dynamic rockers, New York style. So we love New
Yeah,
York and utmost respect for New York here in Cali, especially when it comes to hip hop elements. Nobody tries to go above and beyond what they've done. They just set the platform and gave us a great opportunity to express ourselves and be dynamic artists, right? Because that's all what this is. This is art. And battling them at the B-Boy
yeah,
Summit. in 96 was a real highlight of my life. And it actually catapulted me into another level of this culture where I did so well against them, or they just seen my heart. You know what I mean? Like they seen I wasn't scared. I didn't back down, and I went out like probably like 20 times. Did 20 rounds in that battle. I don't know. You could count them, but I went out a lot. And after that battle, they took me on tour with them, on a world tour with them, and I was only 18. So
Oh
it
wow.
was great, and I got from that challenge and me not backing down or me not being afraid. They took me on tour, and I got to learn how to actually break from New York heads, and actually dance
Wow.
and hear the stories, go on tour with them, for years. You know what I mean? Being roomies with them, being, you know what I mean? Like, and so the Rocksteady crew really dumped into me and nurtured me. And so did the Air Force crew. You know what I mean? From Los Angeles, Little Caesar, Orko, Little Lewis, Animation, um, you know what I mean? They were some of the main crews that really poured into me knowledge, wisdom, because they saw I love the dance, or they felt I loved the dance just as much. I love the elements in hip hop. I was a hip hopper. And so, yeah, that battle would stand out to me as being a career defining moment. And me, through my crew, because I didn't even have a car at that time. That's why I got
Mhm.
so much love for my crew, is because my crew drove me there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like Super Dave drove us to the B-Boy Summit. Do you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And so when we didn't even have any money, and that's why I'm so loyal to my crew, is because my crew, if it wasn't for my crew, I wouldn't have made it to these pivotal, life-changing opportunities.
Wow. So you mentioned with the crew, that's a huge impact in change the perspective of within when you say they help change your kind of life or what you see within the dance and the hip hop.
Oh yeah, I mean, because me out of the whole crew, I was the one. There was a few of us, maybe only two, but we were in real poverty. You know,
Mm.
we were very poor. We didn't have anything. I didn't even have a place to live at 14 years old. You know what I mean? 13, 14, 15, 16. And I was the one in the crew that was literally couch hopping from homie to homie's house.
Oh wow.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, Donnie's mom would take me in. Do you know what I mean? Crumbs. His
Right, right.
grandma and his mom would literally take me and feed me, let me spend the night, knew I had nothing. You know what I mean? And then they would like switch me off. And then I would go to my boy Jaime's house, and then his family would take care of me for a week. And then I would stay with Boogie T because he was already emancipated at a young, young age, like 16 years old, and he had his own apartment. So I would
Mm.
stay with him. Super Dave's family would let me stay with them if I needed a place to stay or I needed food or anything like that. So, those men got Ivan Manriquez, his family opened up their home to me. His brothers nurtured me and taught me how to like hip hop. On
Right.
another level, they were way older and they would teach me how to like airbrush. And, they just saw I was a kid. I was enthusiastic, but I was the main one who was in poverty. Like my parents abandoned me. I, been on my own since I was 14 years old. Do you know what I mean? So
Oh wow.
it's like
Yeah.
that's why crew to me, and I've always held crew together, and I'm the one who actually created style elements. You know what I mean? Being a kid, because I really appreciated all the contributions that they had made to my life. I mean, who knows where I would have been if I had no place to stay, if they didn't bring me in. You know what I mean? If they didn't let me
Yeah.
spend the night, if they didn't feed me, so that's why I'm very loyal to the crew, and to this day, to this day.
Wow. That's incredible, man. And being starting up the style elements, well, how did you come up with the name? Or
I
was it
mean,
like did you think of the name, the crew came together and made up the name, like how that come about?
no, no, I made up the name. I was writing it down on a paper, just like I write right now. Like I'm writing remind, just like I'm writing these things. I'm writing these tags while I'm talking to you. That's how I
Oh,
was all the time. So I would be writing stuff down. I had a sketchbook, a black book, you know, and a tag book. And we were always tagging things. We were always, we're little vandal kids, like for real. We're skaters. We were, you know what I mean? Bikers, BMX bike, skating around town. So we were with our pilot and we go tag up everything that we could pass by, you know what I mean? When we were kids. So I was always a writer. Um, and I wrote on everything, and style elements was something I started to write because I was very aware that you had to have your style if you were representing an element of hip hop. So you have
Mm,
your style if you're a DJ, you have your style if you're a graph writer, like you got your way that your letters and your tag is. And to me, style was similar to soul, because style represented your own fingerprint, and everyone has their own fingerprint, right? And so when you touch hip hop, you put your signature on it. You know what I mean? When you start touching the album,
yeah.
when you pick up that can, your fingerprints are all on it. You know what I mean? So it's your style to the element of hip hop.
Ooh.
And so I was encouraging that into everyone that would come around me so that they wouldn't be such biters, because I was a biter at one time too. You know what I mean? But I was growing,
Right.
learning how to not be a biter. And so, um, that's when I came up with that name, Style Elements, your style to the elements of hip hop. And so that was something I wrote down on paper, and ask the guys, everybody, you guys want to be in a crew? You guys want to be in this crew with me? Style Elements, we represent. But the criteria to be in the crew was you had to practice all elements. You had to be a DJ, you had to be an MC, you
Mm,
had to be a b-boy, and you had to know how to graph, and you just had to know how to do all the elements. So that was a challenge to anyone who wanted to be in the crew, you know?
ooh.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and then I
Damn.
started recruiting, but me and Ivan were some of the first ones. Like me and Boogie T and Jaime and these other people were already known each other. We've already been dancing together, and we had another crew. My original crew before Style Elements was called PDA, and like I said, we were a bunch of badass kids. So our name stood for Parental Discretion Advised. That sticker that they put on the
Uh-huh.
tapes, back in the day, and it was like, that's us. We're the ones that the parents need to be advised about. You know what I mean? Because we were so wild, we were so rebellious, and we would cut school and go tag on everything and go break at the mall until the security would chase us. You know what I mean? So we were just vandals, in our own way. And so that was my first crew, was called PDA.
Ooh.
And then from PDA we went to Style Elements, and that's when Ivan started hanging out with us. And Ivan was never really in the crew because he was always an individual. You know what I mean? He always repped himself. And there was
Yeah.
times where he battled with us, but he was always a person who always represented himself, and his brothers and his families. And he actually was already a part of a group called the Manriquez Brothers, which was him and his brothers, Gio, Hocus, Jesse, um, and
Okay.
they threw a lot of the parties, and they actually had a big hip hop shop in Modesto, which at that time was very rare. This is like 91, 92. So, he was already a part of the Manriquez brothers, but he was incredible at what he did, his flips and his energy. And so we started hanging out together and absorbing each other's vibes. So um, then from there, I started recruiting people. And the first people I recruited, I think, was Boogie T. And the second person I recruited was Crumbs. And then the third
Mm.
person I recruited was Super Dave.
Oh, damn.
So
Fire,
that's how it
dude.
started. Yeah.
What in
And then from
what
there,
year
it
was
just
this?
kept going. It's like
94?
93, 94. It's really 93 because, even though we say 94 officially, that's when, we were really had our first battle as a group in
Mm.
94.
Right, but
But
then it
we were
went
already,
back.
I was already talking about this before. And the reason why I know it was 93, it was because it was way before that song 93 Till Infinity came out,
Ah.
you know?
Yeah. That thing's still good till this day.
From
That's funny.
hieroglyphics, yeah. So I marked things off of that one to remember when that song, because things started changing during when that song came out. Music was changing. Far Side, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, Freestyle Fellowship. You know what I mean? Those are the things we listened to as youths. And it really heavily influenced the way we danced. Their
So
music.
what competition or battle was your first crew battle? Was it a Radiotron or something else?
No, I think our first actual crew battle was in Madera, California. It was like this little hall, and we battled some other crew. I don't even know the name of the crew, but
Mm.
we battled them. And then our first performance as a crew was in Bakersfield. And then our first battle was in Madera. And then our second battle, which was actually, and then we did another, not a battle, but a talent show, radio talent show for Modesto in
Okay.
like 93. And then our official, like actual battle is we battled Renegades crew in 1994 at an event called Revolutions that was thrown by Eugene
Oh.
Daytona, which was one of the founding members of Rock Force and
Oh
one of the
wow.
promoters that used to throw like the World War Threes, the World Wars. There was this event called World Wars here in the Bay Area where they brought out Air Force, and Air Force won the whole competition. Um, Caesar, Robbie, and Willpower came out here and wrecked super hard and blew it up. And so he was the promoter of that event. And I think that was in like 92. And then when we
Wow.
battled Renegades, he threw an event called Revolutions. And we battled Wicked, Jazzy J, Pop Politics, and Blue Boy. And it was me, Boogie T, Crumbs, and Super Dave.
Oof. Wow.
And that was before J Rock and Tommy Boy got in the crew, or Poe, or any of the San Jose floor rockers got involved with us.
Mm. Damn. Such a massive lineage behind
Yes.
the Style Elements crew. Um,
Yeah,
and then later
and you're getting
along,
it from the horse's mouth too, so you know what I mean?
you guys got invited to Battle of the Year. That was like '07 or no, not '07. Sorry, '97 or
97.
something.
Yeah, 1997.
Oh, and then
And we got invited to that after we won Radiotron
mm, got
in
it.
95.
Nice, nice. And then I think you guys during those or during that time of that era, you guys made such a impact name, and were you guys all just hungry, feeling each other up? Hey, let's go battle this one, or like what was that crew mentality? If you can
Well,
remember during that time.
why I totally know it because I was the one who started all the beef, you know what I mean? Like I would be the one who's like, let's battle, let's serve them, let's go over here and serve them, let's go over here and serve them. Let's go to Germany and serve. No one told me, Ariston, do you want to enter Radiotron? No, it was me. I knew about Radiotron. I said, yo, guys, there's this event in LA, Radiotron, Little Caesar throws it. We're gonna go and we're gonna battle in it. There is an event in Germany, Battle of the Year. There's these guys called Battle Squad or Enemy Squad or the family. We're gonna go over there and we're gonna serve all of them. Like we're gonna go over there. And so even when we went to Battle of the Year 97, um, we were expecting to battle Battle Squad, Enemy Squad, or the family, but then they gave us Southside Rockers, and we were wondering why those three crews weren't there, and we were really upset, because we were training for them. And if you look at our face, everyone's like, "Oh, Battle of the Year changed the game." Yeah, it was cool, but we were a lot better than that. You know what I mean? But we weren't motivated by Southside Rockers. You know what I mean? As
Uh
being
huh.
our opponents, because we didn't look at them on the same level as what we were expecting from. We wanted to battle Storm and Swift. We wanted to battle Emilio and we wanted to battle B-Boy Thunder, and you know what I mean. And then we wanted to battle Ibrahim and Kareem, and so we were kind of disappointed then, but I was really a lot of the instigator of a lot of battles.
Uh huh.
straight up.
Dang, that's wild. That's so cool though. And then so after that, what other events did you guys hit up after Battle of the Year?
Oh, we did so much during these times. I mean, you're talking about back to back to back to back to back battles ever since 1993, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, like back to back. And you're these pivotal ones, like the ones like Battle of the Year. Okay, say after Battle of the Year, we went to UK Championships the next year, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we battled all, we battled Second to None. We battled Spartanic Rockers. I battled a Demon Smurf, in the one-on-ones, which was his last battle, that he had entered was that year, 1998. So we went there and we were just trying to conquer the world. We were trying to conquer the world. We were trying to serve everyone. We were trying to battle the best in the world. We were trying to make a name for ourselves and put a mark on the championships that we had built, you know, prior, like the World Federation Breaking Championship, was the Radiotron. So we looked
Mm.
at ourselves as world champions and we were defending world champions, so we were just
Oh
looking for
wow.
someone to take it from us, or win more. So yeah, that was what we
During
did
those
right after Battle of the Year.
during those times, those events you mentioned, how was it? How were you guys funding it? Were you guys working day jobs during those times too, or were you getting
No,
flown out or invited?
no, this is well, during that time, I'm telling you, after 96, I had got a job with Rocksteady Crew, which was called Ghetto Original Productions. And they had put me on their theater show, on their worldwide theater show called Jam on the Groove. So once I got hired on them, I was looking to hire my whole crew. I was trying to get Super Dave on there, I was trying to get Boogie T on there.
Oh.
And then they end up, because Crazy Legs had a relationship with Crumbs too, it made it easy for Crumbs to get on the show too. So me and Crumbs were already we were already professional dancers. By the time we were 18 years old, Donnie was already a professional dancer when he was like
Wow.
16, 17 years old, because he's a few years younger than me. So, and then Dave was younger than me too. We were waiting for them to try and get 18 so they can go on a world tour. And so a lot of me and Donnie and we're funding our own, you know, trips and trying to organize and starting to understand the b-boy business, on how to book
Hmm.
ourselves out of the country, how to try to go and win a competition. But basically, Jam on the Groove Rocksteady Crew funded all those battles.
Right, because you're on tour with them,
Yeah,
and then
it made it able for me to be able to go and travel. I would at least have a little bit of money, you know, and
yeah.
and our main thing was trying to win the prize money, which wasn't much at that time. There was very
Right.
little, and there was a lot of us. So when we did win, it was only like $200, $300 each. Because we
Hmm.
split it evenly. We weren't giving one person more than the other. We would just like, everybody gets exactly, even cut.
For sure.
So, yeah, so we would, it would be nothing sustainable, but we loved the battlefield and we knew we were building something. We knew we were contributing because, the sales from these videos, you got to understand, is like went through the roof. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? Like
Uh
the
huh.
sales of even B-Boy Summit alone, Tribal Circles, Battle of the Year 97, Radiotron 95, UK Championships 98. Back in the day, there was video sales, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
they sold a lot of videos up there. They made all of them. You're talking about at least made maybe $1 million off of their videos. Why do you think they were able to
Wow.
keep doing their events and keep doing their events? So we were being sold. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and we
Right.
understood, like, okay, we're gonna pay dues now. We may have not got paid now, but in the future, because this is doing well, these videos are circulating around the world. That we knew that to invest in it, to maybe create a circuit which actually exists right now.
Mm. Now we got live stream and YouTube.
Oh, bro,
The
it's
world's
huge. I
changed.
mean, come on, bro.
Yeah.
It's a $1 billion industry globally now. Really, let's see. You gotta imagine. They were making these tapes and making 100% profit. You know what I mean? And not paying any b-boys. Just
Right.
putting up one crash prize of $500 and be able to sell, hundreds of thousands of videos at $25 to $70 a video. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So this is how this culture was built. It was built on the backs of b-boys like myself, where we allowed all these events to sell us without even signing our rights away. We just
Right.
allowed them to do that. Like we allowed the B-Boy Summit to do that. We allowed Tribal to do that. We allowed UK Championships to do that. We allowed Battle of the Year to do that. We allowed Freestyle Session to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's why it's like, when they talk to me, they gotta understand who they're really talking to. You know what I mean? Because we didn't charge
Yeah.
them and we didn't sue them. Do you know what I mean? Like, which we could have easily done. We
Right.
were,
Right.
but we were like, nah, let's invest in the culture. I know it's going to get better. One day it's going to snap. You know what I mean? And one day people, and so now I'm proud when I see people being endorsed and I seen Rox Wright get a contract, Ronnie get a contract, different people we pay dues for this to happen. You know what I mean? For people to be professional B-boys and be living off of their art, because we dreamed of that ourselves. We had those similar goals. We just didn't have that industry at that time. It was still being built.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of paving the wave.
Yeah.
Wow. Speaking of other work, did you do any industrial work at all? Like music
Oh yeah.
videos, movies, or anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Around like 19, moved to Los Angeles. No, actually like 21. Moved to well, I got hired for a Las Vegas show. When I
Mm-hmm.
was 19, it was called Manhattan. Mr. Wiggles had hired me for that show, and I worked in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that professional show. I and then we from that show after that show ended, end up moving to Hollywood because Flowmaster was getting a lot of work over there, and he was offering us like opportunity. And so Flowmaster was making good links up there, and we were on the same show, the Manhattan show, and
Uh
so
huh.
when me, him, and Wicket were the B boys, and Mister Freeze, and we were popping. I mean, we were dancing with Skeeter Rabbit, Poppin' Pete, and Mister Wiggles and Sugar Pop. So I mean, we were with the best, and so they was just teaching us how to do business. You know what I mean, the show business.
Right.
And then we end up moving to Los Angeles, and then we end up booking gigs with Christina Aguilera.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did Pretty Fly for a White Guy,
Oh, did you?
Offspring, worked with Jane's Addiction, worked with Christina Aguilera, worked with Tina Landon, end up doing some voiceovers for a couple movies. And actually, we were also, as youngsters, we were already into making film. We had been a part of some underground videos like Return of the B-Boy, and
Mm-hmm.
then we were shopping our reel, Enter the B-Boy at that time. We end up creating the Groovaloos in Los Angeles when we went there, and then the Groovaloos, all the work that they had done in Hollywood. So we were a part of all of that. And I didn't do most of the movies. Donnie did a lot more than me. Worked with the I worked with the Black Eyed Peas before they got, too famous.
Uh huh.
And worked with tons of art, so many artists, bro. Nickelodeon. I worked with a lot of TV stations. I did a couple Nickelodeon shows, like All That.
Uh huh. Oh yeah.
Kids Choice
Classic.
Awards. Yeah, did MTV awards, VH1 Music Awards at Radio City Hall. Was on Christina Aguilera's My Reflections DVD. Yeah, we did a lot, bro. We did a lot in Los Angeles. Like once we moved there, we were really hot. Like agents picked us up quick. We didn't even have to shop to an agent; they were shopping for us. And
Ooh.
so we set off that whole b-boy in the industry thing. We were the first ones there
Yeah. That,
after the '80s.
was there any gigs or performance that you most remember that kind of stood out to you, or like
Um,
any,
well,
you
that
know?
one, Christina Aguilera, My Reflections in Radio City Hall with Brian McKnight, like, do you know what I mean? Like that was crazy because I loved Brian McKnight as a kid, buy all his albums. I love his singing. I love his songs. And so that was a highlight. And to see, be around Christina Aguilera and was amazing was Tina Landon, which was Janet Jackson's choreographer. She was
Uh-huh.
such a beautiful person. She treated us good. She treated us like professional dancers because the b-boys had a stigma like they ain't real dancers.
Right,
They didn't
right.
go through training. They can't hold their leg like this. They don't stretch like that. So there was a stigma like, who are these guys? Like, they don't know how to do choreography and counts. And then we actually learned how to do counts, and pick up choreography and stuff by working with Tina you know, well, of course,
Awesome.
Rocksteady Crew showed us how to do it first, but then, the choreography level, it was like Tina Landon. So big ups to her. She gave us our first opportunity to co-choreograph some work with her during that Christina Aguilera tour and that whole gigs.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that
And
would be memorable.
yeah, yeah. And seeing some of that stuff work, I was like, okay, I'm gonna look it up and check it out. I'm like, oh, this is tight.
Yeah, come
Some.
on over, music video. You know what I mean? We're in that
Oh, is
music
it?
video. We're in Monica's the first night. Yeah, we danced for a lot of artists out there. You know what I mean? We done a few Black Eyed Peas videos. We did Skechers commercial.
Ooh, yeah. I think was it Crumbs did a Skechers commercial or something? I don't know, something like that. I remember seeing some b boys on that during those competitions. The style did your crew ever? Did you guys stop doing crew battles for a time being? Well, no, you guys did a bunch of Lord of the Floors too, which I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. I know,
Oh yeah, yeah, for
you
sure, for
know,
sure.
gosh, I don't even know when was that Lord of Floors Style Limits crew you and Crumbs battled? Was that like '06 or something or
No, no, that's
'04?
2001.
Oh,
2001.
2001. Oh, wow, that's farther.
Welcome any of those kind of questions for sure because
Uh,
I know the major roles that we play in this whole culture, and it's good to sometimes talk about it because there's a lot of big events happening now, and there's this thing has gone global, and a lot of the people don't know the origins of where they're actually coming from. You know what I mean? Like, all of that. So I
yeah,
can give the insights on the backgrounds of how these events came about. You know?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Lord of the Floors, that's definitely a huge one because I didn't start till I started breaking in '06, and so whatever before that, it's kind of like I'm
Oh
kind of
wow!
learning.
Wow!
I'm learning,
Yes,
talking to
first chicken.
you, talking to other people that's been around, and so I'm
Yes.
learning the roots and history and some of the lineage that I never gotten that
Oh,
now I'm
beautiful.
learning this stuff, right? And so which kind of ties into, content and podcasts, documenting it. More
Word up.
interested
Word
in
up.
learning it. I wish I didn't have a crew member that was like really diving into like the history. We're mainly local cats.
Yes.
And as
And you're
this
out in where?
Portland, Oregon.
Oh, okay. Great. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, so I've been out there in this past 4 to 5 years. Been going out to more, you know, West Coast, a lot of California. There's some Vegas jams and some. I went out to Silverback in like 2018. Just like more bigger jams than my local. I've been out Seattle and like Vancouver, BC jams, but kind of want to
Yes.
break apart and see else is out there. And then yeah, it's just me reminiscing. There's more to it too. But speaking of Lord
Yeah.
of the Floors, want to talk about that? Yeah, a little bit before. So you guys have a history of you two compete, you and Crumbs competing back in '01, I
Yes.
think you mentioned, and
Yes.
then with this, there's an upcoming event coming up, kind of exhibition match, Lord of the
Mm-hmm.
Floors coming up in San Diego, which is gonna be super fire. I'm looking forward to it. But little before
Oh,
that,
that's fun.
tell me how was that experience at Lord of the Floors back in '01?
Well, basically, I always, whenever I tell a story about Lords of the Floor and working with Red Bull for the first time, I had a great experience. But I had to let my roles be known because a lot of times people get overlooked on their contributions. And a lot of that Lords of the Floor event was I consulted and helped them organize and
Mm.
create that actual event. Me and Bob from Circle of Fire were pretty good friends. We we're we were rivals in the Bay Area when we were younger, and you're talking about
Oh
91,
wow.
92. There was Circle of Fire, but they were called Metaphysics back then. And we used to battle them every time we went to the Bay Area. Like they would always come after us and try to battle us and, outhouse us and but it was really a lot of house dancing and breaking mix, New Jack Swing. Um, so we had knew each other for a long time and we had been battling so long each other since, like I said, 91, 92, that we end up gaining a really amazing respect for each other, you know, because they stuck with it and we stuck with it. We've seen many, 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 I'm talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of crews fall off, where there
Uh-huh.
was a crew that was called this, and then they were there for a year or two or three, and then they ended, when we were kids. So there's tons of crews like that would just spawn up and then quit. So we appreciated them that they never quit, and they appreciated us. We never quit. We kept
Mm.
our crews going and we kept it going and we kept representing and representing. And, honestly, at that time, we hated each other. You know, we didn't like each other. We were rivals. And like it was battle on site every time. And we would like cuss at each other, almost fight each other all the time. And
Yeah.
so by time, 2000 came around, you know what I mean? Like we had earned each other's respect, you know? Um, and we start hanging out with each other and just, and laughing about, how we were when we were younger kids. And
Mm.
so we got really close and tight. Through a lot of that building came about the concept of Lords of the Floor, you know? And so me and Bob built a lot. Bob, Seth, mainly back in that day on, um, you know, how to, keep making this thing grow because they had seen how we were making our own videos, Strategic Monsters, Cockapoo, Bendable Banana Slugs, Enter the B-Boy, Return of the B-Boy. We were into making films, on VHS back in the day. And they were getting into that too. They had came out with their Circle of Fire video, which I recommend everyone should own, even to this day.
Mhm.
So you could see the styles. You should own all these videos. Every video that's out there, everyone should own all these videos. Because if you're doing this now, you got to know where you're coming. These are the roots, of
Mm.
actual young production of everything that's happening now. So me and Bob were building a lot on doing something called the B-Boy Kumite,
Uh-huh.
kind of modeled after Bloodsport. You see how the bleachers go up like that and then the floor.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
so, we built on that concept a lot. And then, one day he told me, he's like, man, yeah, I found a sponsor, they're willing to do a big breaking event. We could do something like the B-Boy Kumite. And, that's why me and Crumbs were featured on there as one of the great eight, right?
Mm.
And so I said, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And he was like, what's the most important thing? And I told him the floor. I go, because we do all these battles and then we got, in Radiotron 95, you could see how much we were slipping around. That floor was horrible. I mean, horrible, the B-Boy Summit floor, it was all kind of lopsided and hella dusty. You know what I mean? Like, so the floors weren't all that. We could have done better moves if we had a, floor. We could do our head
Mm.
slides. We could do our baby windmills. We could do the things that we need to slide, right? To make it smooth, our head spins. And so he asked me what was the most important thing. I said, the floor, bro. The floor is the most important thing. He goes, okay, that's when I'm going to tell him that we have to build a custom B-Boy floor. So that's where the floor came from,
Wow.
that one historical floor. And me and Crumbs were in LA at that time when were building it in LA.
Uh-huh.
And we were the first ones to test it out,
Ooh.
to go over there and get on it and, slide around and do my baby windmills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, so yeah. And then giving all my contacts about who to get a hold of, who to get to judge, So I was a part of that. It not only is in competing, but I was also a part of organizing it.
Mm.
Even though I'm not given the credit for it. So I give myself the credit for it. And I beg someone to challenge me, you know what I mean? On my contributions to that event. But if you look at that event, me and Crumbs were the only pro B-boys on that thing. And we were creating these tournament bracket type of battles. Because you got to understand, tournament bracket didn't exist back then. It was just a one battle. Do you know what I mean? Like Radiotron, it was just one battle. Do you know? Battle of the year. You battled, your show qualified you, so then you battle at the end. There was never a bracket of top 16 and then break it down to the best two. That didn't exist.
Uh,
Um, it didn't exist in Radiotron, didn't exist at B-Boy Summit. Never had it been done before. Do you know what I mean? Um, Even with UK championships, we didn't have to, battle. It was just one battle at the end. They qualified the two best with the best shows, and then those guys would go at it. So,
yeah.
this was the first tournament style bracket that, that was being introduced to the B-boy world. And so, yeah, I'm a part of that and a part of putting that together and creating the Great Eight and, with Bob and Circle of Fire. And then we also competed. But if you look at it, me and Donnie were the first pro B-boys, meaning pro by everything we were wearing was sponsored,
Mm,
from Dada footwear to tribal gear, that we were wearing in these battles. So we were just setting the precedence of what, Red Bull had picked up on. Now with being a brand and marketing pro B-boys. So, I like to, you know, pat myself on the back and say that I had something to do with this whole, you know,
got it.
competition
Yeah.
of Lords of the Floor. So, it makes sense for me to be a part of it now, finally, because they did try to get, I did give them credit. They did try to get me a part of it when it happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I
Back then.
denied it. Yeah, I denied it. I was just asking for kind of just didn't want to do it. My mom had just passed away, and I was going through some emotional things. So I knew that I would be a firecracker. You know, so I was
Uh,
like, nah, people need to stay away from me right now. Like I'm not nice right now. Um,
yeah.
and so I denied that whole battle. So then he ended up doing it with Ruin, right?
Right.
So
Right.
So yeah, that's the history that I have being involved in that. And so now here we go in 2026 and I'm 49 years old. I was only like what 21, 22 at that time. So you're like 20 something years later, and then I felt like we got robbed also. And I also broke
mm,
my ankle in that battle with against Massive Monkeys, and I broke my ankle, and I still continued to battle K-Mel, and then I also had to battle the second group of Massive Monkeys after that. But I
ooh.
stopped. We got robbed. I thought we won that battle. And I was really upset at that because I was like, man, we're getting robbed because there's a lot of robberies in hip hop. You know what I mean? In the B-boy
Mm,
community and in competitions, there's tons of robberies.
yeah.
The culture would be in a way better place if there wasn't these robberies because it breaks people's hearts. And then we end up entering the year after. They did it again, and we end up losing in the first round against Iron Monkey and Eric, which I thought we got robbed again. And
Uh,
I was just like, you know. And so I just had a bad taste in my mouth after that. I'm like, yo, like you could beat these guys. Like I could beat these guys. You know what I mean? Like these guys ain't even on my level. Like they do these what I used to call gimmicky tricks. Um, and like the hollow back and the air flare. At that time, I was so advanced on my style that I looked at anything trendy as a gimmick.
mm,
So when the air flare got trendy, I boycotted the air flare. Like, I could do an air flare. You know what I mean? I
right.
boycotted it to this day because I always looked at it as like a cheap way to get O's. I boycotted the hollow back because I looked at it as a cheap way to get O's. I boycotted the air chair because I look at it as a cheap way to get O's. You know, you got to get O's from a 0 point. You know what I mean? From a spontaneous combustion, a spontaneous moment, having faith, going all out. So that was my philosophy. Not that I'm downing anyone, but there's a higher level to this when you reach that high level. When you're like oh, I'm not gonna do a backflip for the people just so I can get some O's. Do you
Mm.
know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's cheap O's. Those are all gimmicks to me, you know? So yeah, I just had a different perspective.
yeah. Wow. And then, with it coming up in a few weeks, I'm in San Diego. Are you doing any preparation, training, anything you can speak about with this upcoming
Well,
event?
well, the thing is I mean, this probably might cause some controversy. But I'm way past training, bro. You know? Um, the main thing
Yeah, yeah.
is expressing ourselves honestly. And that's where I'm at now. There's no training so far as physically. Yeah, I'm 49. How much can I train? Do you know what I mean? Like I've been a world champion at breaking since I was 17, you know? And honestly, further than that, because I was winning talent shows when I was like 6, 7 years old, you know?
Mm,
And so I've been a champion at this dance or either on a championship level ever since I was 6, 7 years old, bro.
yeah.
I'm 49 now. To put this in perspective, this is 40 years, over 40 years of experience and training and dislocating collarbones and shoulders and fingers and hurting C6 and C7 and you know what I mean? Like it's it's been so long since I've been doing this dance. Um so the training part, I don't look at this like a sport. I look at this as an art. And it takes forging to make a sword, which is a piece of art. You know, it takes forging to make a bow and arrow, which is a piece of art. Um, and I look at myself as similar to that, as a sword and as a bow and arrow. I've been forged already, you know, in the fire of the cipher, that I am confident in my ability to harvest the moment, you know? And that's really what it's about for me. It's not a sport to me, you know. I honestly, I could say a lot of controversial things right now because
Right.
the way that I am, I don't look at these dudes. They're not on my level. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
said, I look at moves as gimmicks. If they're doing these certain moves, I look at them as straight gimmicks. They're just trying to get O's. They're just trying to get props. And so I'm a dancer. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
dancer, bro. And art is more important than a sport to me. You know, art is more important. I rather people look at this as an art. And if you're a real artist, you got to practice your stroke. You got to practice that with that brush. You got to master these styles. So, you know, there's just a different mentality that I come from with my experience and my upbringing and my expertise because I'm an actual artist myself. Like I draw, I paint. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
painting on things all the time. Like I make designs. Like I'm an artist. And so for me to demonstrate my art, you know, that's what I'm there to do is demonstrate the art of b-boying, not just the tricks of b-boying, you know? So
Mm.
that's my preparation is this type of mental state, this type of spiritual state, this type of mentality of when I go in there in the cipher. And, and really, I'm not here to break anyone down because I'm so proud of where b-boying has gotten to. Do you know? I'm so glad that there is a Lords of the Floor in 2026. I'm so happy that there is a thing called Pro B-Boys and there is a circuit, a global circuit where people are getting paid and getting acknowledged for their feats, their great feats, their ability to hack at the human body and crack codes, and crack limitations and hack limitations on the self and on the mental, because before they needed to demonstrate that move, they had to conquer it here first, remember?
Right.
So I'm very proud of what's going on. So I'm not here to break anything down or destroy anyone or battle anyone. I'm here just to demonstrate the love for the art. And if they give me a platform and a stage and a canvas to do so, that's what I'm going to do.
Oof. Damn.
Yeah.
With
And I'm
that,
just different than these other cats. You know what I mean?
yeah. With I guess the legacy of Remind, let's say 50 years from now, what do you hope they understand about the person behind the dance, which is
I hope that they understand is that when you're doing what you love, you're strong. That love makes you strong. Love catapults you to the next level. When you do it from the love, the pure love of art, the love of movement, the love of music. I love music so much that it makes me do those things. Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like it didn't come the move and then the music. No, the music was first. I responded and then out came my head slide. You know?
Right, right, yeah.
So it's not like the other way around. Some people are in the gym practicing these things, and then when the music plays, it's like, okay, just do it to the beat. You know, it's this is a different thing. There was these spontaneous moments where we were listening to music and we loved it so much. It was just like you know, like an
Yeah.
explosion of expression. So a lot of the moves that I do are birthed from that place. So I want people to understand that. It's about the love you have for something and the passion. So continue to do that and it'll take you somewhere. Like who would have thought that, we would make a career off of spinning on our heads?
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Man, Remind, such a pleasure to have you on. Um,
Thank you, brother.
so what's next for you? You got the
Um,
upcoming competition, which
yep,
is gonna be super fire at the San Diego event.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, yeah. Well,
Well, we got a lot of things coming up. We got our event, our 32-year
oh, that's right.
anniversary
Style Elements
here
coming
in,
up September
yes,
11 or something.
yes,
That weekend.
September 11th and 12th. And we have a 2-day event, and we're bringing it back to the origins, which is Stockton, California, where we're from.
Ooh.
Well, the 209, because some of us are from Modesto too, and Lodi Gulf. So it's really the Central Valley. But me, as the creator, and Boogie T, Super Dave, are actually, and Jaime, are actually from Stockton. So we're
Mm,
bringing it back home to the Civic Auditorium, a very historical venue, which is probably the highlight of the whole event is the venue, because it's in a place where so many great people perform. And it's an actual auditorium. It's, you can look it up, the Stockton Civic Auditorium. It's over 100 years old, this building.
oh wow.
So for us, that was one of the first places I seen breaking back in '84, as a competition.
Uh
And
huh.
so, bringing it, and that's why we're calling our event Origins, is because we're bringing it back to the origins of style, of where we created style elements. And we had a global impact. We influenced the whole globe. I mean, even regardless of people not acknowledging it or not, I see our influence and I see our code being used globally in everyone's movement. I see my neck you know what I mean? I see it all from the threads to the neck to all of that stuff was birthed here. These styles were birthed here, and there's actually explanations for each of these moves. You know, like even the air flare was innovated here in the 209 Valley. And then put out to the world. So it's
Wow.
like the air chair was invented here. Everything that everybody's doing now globally was invented here in, well, at least the second wave of after Rocksteady dynamic rockers, New York City breakers. They had laid the foundation. And then when it got here to the Central Valley in California, which is a very innovative place because you got to understand, George Lucas comes from here. You know what I mean?
Oh
Star
wow,
Wars comes out of here.
busy. I didn't know
Tech
that.
comes out of here.
Oof.
Hot rods come out of here. Like cruising was birthed here. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is a very pivotal place between Bakersfield and Sacramento, the Central Valley, you know? So tons of innovation. Like even the tech industry is birthed out of the valley. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
a
The
lot of
Silicon
those tech
Valley.
companies, yes, were birthed out of George Lucas, them trying to make special effects for George Lucas, you know, Apple and, you know, Pixar and all of these things, all of Google, you know, all of it, bro. So, yeah. So, you know, I want to honor the Central Valley. I want to honor our contributions to global industries. And, you know, honestly, I look at B-Boy as an extension of actual tech, you know? Um, I think that we're innovators because we're utilizing the actual human body and innovating on top of hacking gravity, hacking limitations, and finding different ways of being efficient in your movement, you know?
Mm.
And so you know, I don't like an upgrade, you know, like you had the first iPhone and then it turned into the, you know, iPhone
Yeah.
3, iPhone 6,
Two,
iPhone now it's
three.
to
You
the
know.
17, right? Now to
Yeah.
the 18. So same thing is like we upgraded, we upgrade things, you know, we keep modifying ourselves and keep upgrade. Now we're on that a new operating system. And so now we're trying to just what we have been uploading our operating system into the planet. And we could see how it's really effective and how whoever utilizes it and sees the actual value in it excel on a major level, like China, you know,
Mm.
like these little kids,
Yeah.
like Russia, like Japan. They see the tech and they accept the upgrades, you know, and then they excel.
Oof. So I'm gonna slowly wrap it up, by the way. But before we, wrap anything up, your name, Artisan, is your real name. B-Boy Remind. Tell me, how did you get the name Remind?
Well, you know, I named myself. You know, most people get named by elder, and most people, yeah, they're given their name. Me, I named myself. It was just an affirmation. Like I said, look at, I'm still writing it down to this day. Like I said, you know what I mean? I write remind. I'm a writer. I tag. You know what I'm saying? So remind was my tag. You know what I mean? Back in the day. And I used to when I was skateboarding and all that stuff. But remind was also an affirmation. I didn't know why it was always coming to me. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
remind, remind, remind. And it ended up playing out and it was basically an affirmation to tell me to remember who I was. Do you know what I mean? To search and find out who I am and remember who and what I'm here to do. Not only who I am, but also what I'm here to do.
Mm.
And that affirmation just stuck with me. It's just like an affirmation, just like anyone's name. You know, Ariston is an affirmation. It means the best. It means excellence in Greek and in Italian. And so it's like, and then later, you know, Italian transferred into Italian. So um, anyone who's being called a name is every time they're being called, they're being affirmed that, you know? So you know, remind is just an affirmation that have always stuck with me and always been with me. And it's also been something it's a miracle because, you know, I didn't expect for it to fit me so well, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like everything I'm about, you know, I'm about activating people and also getting them to remember who they are and what they're here to do, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
So
That's incredible. Love it.
thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for, you know, the showing me the love and stuff. And thank you for letting me express myself because, you know, you know, this is my story, right? This
Yeah.
is the story that isn't told commonly like through quick interviews or anything like that. You get more personal and I appreciate you making a space and making me feel safe to actually express myself. And this is also, again, feeding the culture. I want to feed the culture because
Yeah.
it's not just the moves anymore. You know what I mean? Imagine they love our moves, but imagine the stories that actually made the moves, that actually are
Mm,
behind the moves, that power the moves. The stories are very powerful because there's, miracle instances how all of this has come about, and who would have knew that I would be, a professional break dancer? You know what I mean? And and who would have knew that all these other people would be actual professional b-boys and break dancers? You know what I mean? Professional poppers and lockers and being able to support their families and entertain, from the Jabberwockies to the Michael Jackson
oof.
show to
Yeah.
even Magic Mike to,
Yeah,
you know
Magic
what I
Mike.
mean? To all of this, to the movie industry, to, we're really grateful, and who would have knew? And that's why, I just stick with hip hop, which means conscious movement, because hip hop is a phenomenon, and that's why I stick with that energy, is because it helped provide a global education for me to have this knowledge that I'm able to share with you today.
Mm,
So big
yeah.
ups to hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the contribution, some of your knowledge. You I know you have so much more, right? And
Yeah, well, this is part one, bro. We'll do a part two another time after the battle or something. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. Before I like to end it, I like to do what's called the cipher round, right? But right before that, is there anything you want to bring up in a sense that you like to speak about we didn't really tap into?
Let me see. Nah, not really. I think I said it all, brother. I think I expressed myself, and I'm just about upgrading humanity. I'm saying you guys upgrade and step into the future, step into the now. We're in 2026, but a lot of people are living like they're in 1926. You know what I mean? So it's like really, you really step into the now, step into the future. The future is now, and it's we're being held back by old operating systems. So accept the new operating systems that are being out there for us to function in a whole new reality. And we're creating a whole new reality and a better one.
Mm, love it, man. Love it. Let's hit up the cipher round. You ready for it? So it's pretty simple.
Yes.
5 questions, kind of things at the top of your head. Let's hit up
Mhm.
the cipher. First question. Do you have what's your favorite song to dance to?
Bro, you know what? That's the hardest question for me.
Right, it's
Honestly,
very
because
broad because
I
there's so.
love music. You
Mm.
see what I'm saying?
It,
I love music, bro. Like in general. So it
uh,
doesn't matter if it's house, jazz, rock, rock and roll, hip hop, break beats. There's none that I favor over the other. I really love to dance. There's some lyrical, there's some violin, there's some guitar, acoustic. I mean, I'm a music lover, so I really can't give you a song. That's a very hard question
uh,
for me.
how about an artist? Does an artist come to your head?
An artist, as in a sense, that's hard too, because it's like I really love music, and there's tons of artists out there. I could say, me when it comes to breaking, I would just say Freestyle Fellowship. You know,
Okay, yeah, that works. Second question: Is there? Are you listening to any? Are you reading any books or listening to any audiobooks currently?
no, I'm studying the ethers, and I do it through meditation.
Mm. Third question: Do you have a favorite breaking move?
The chair freeze.
Chair freeze. Oh, nice, nice. Uh, Fourth question: Do you like pineapple on pizza?
I like pizza. I don't like pineapple.
Okay. Fifth and last question: If you can enter a competition for 2 versus 2, do you know who your partner would be?
Um, It would be, I would love to have entered a competition so you guys could see my real dance partner. I would have loved to enter a dance competition with Boogie T, because then you would
Mm,
actually see the 209ers, the real Stockton style, which me and him are the only ones who have that chemistry together. Do you know what I mean? Most people know it from me and Donnie, me and Bugs,
uh huh.
and they're used to that, but they don't understand that I have also another brother that is Like me and him had a chemistry that no one could still match to this day.
Ooh.
And but he just went on a different route. You know what I mean? And we grew up together since we were kids. And so we, you know what I mean? It's just like if you see me, you actually see him.
Oh, really?
Do you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of my moves, me and Tino made up together. You guys just aren't seeing him do it. You know what I mean? It's just me demonstrating because he chose another path. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't care about the fame or the
Mm,
contest he's just not into that. You know?
yeah. And that's your crewmate, Boogie T.
Boogie T. Yes, Boogie T.
Is that play on
Valentino.
from the Harlem Heat, WCW? Is that
No, no,
no?
no. He was just his name is we used to call him Tino, but his name was Valentino, but we shortened his name to
Ah,
Tino to not call him Valentino all the time. So we say Tino, and then Tino loved the boogie. He's just a
ah,
boogeyman. Like he loves music just like me. Like I said, like we love music. We're music fanatics from house to to hip hop to everything. And he just loved the boogie. And when he danced, it's like, he's the boogeyman, you know?
oof,
So
love
we
it.
call him Boogie T.
Yeah, I was talking about Booker T from wrestling. That's what I was
Nah,
like.
nah, 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 nah. It's a whole different vibe.
So, Remind, dude, it's such a pleasure having you on. If people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Yo, just find me at styleelementscrew.com. You can tap in, and we're uploading a lot of information on that website as of now, and our bios, our videos, our accolades, our achievements, our contributions, and we're also going to really push it to be an online university soon. So
Ooh,
please tune into styleelementscrew.com. We're building it as we speak, and that's where you can get more information about me and the other crew members, which we actually have like 33 crew members now
ooh, wow.
from four, you know, from
And
the
you guys are
original four to now 33.
and you guys are inter. Do you guys have people international as well,
Yes,
or
yes. We got
globally? Let's say.
Korea members, we got China member, we got Taiwan.
Wow.
We're still working on Europe. We're trying to get some Europe heads now. We got some really good prospects out there. But yeah, we're global. We're going global, a global crew, and
A question came to
which is
mind.
called a worldwide tribe.
Worldwide tribe.
Mhm.
So, when you started Style Elements Crew, did you expect it to be as big as what it is?
Um, I always knew that we were onto something, you
Yeah.
know? So I welcome this growth. I welcome, you know, uh, this type of innovation, and also because we're also teaching this to the art of making friends, you know? There's an art to it. And we
Oh
want to spread
yes.
that. Style Elements is teaching that. We're one of the rare crews that still exists and are not dwindling down. We're actually growing. You know what I mean? We're recruiting, we're still growing. And all of that comes from something that I learned here when I was young in Stockton was the art of making friends.
Mm, dang, dude, that's so fire, man.
Thank you, brother. And we're going to keep pushing it, and we're going to keep growing. And who knows, man? And remember, this thing transcends to so many industries, right? It's not just breaking.
Yes.
Like, you never know. We could release a washing machine. You know what I mean? Like, or refrigerator, or, you know what I mean? Like, you never know, but it will be an innovative washing machine if we do it. You know what I mean? It will be an innovative
Uh huh.
refrigerator if we do it. So, we're into solar, we're into a lot of stuff, guys. Do you know what I mean? We're not just into breaking. Like a lot of us are, in the background, they're really at the cutting edge of their field, you know, and what
Mm,
they do. So that's who we're looking for to build with and create relationships. And, who knows?
yeah.
We're not limited, you know?
Right. Yeah. Keep it open, and
Yes.
beyond the dance as well.
Yes, definitely beyond the dance.
Dang, fire. Remind,
Tony,
pleasure to
you're
have
the
you on
man.
once again. Dude, thank you so much. Check out Style Elements September 11th over in Stockton, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Peace, Tony.